Trucking is tough. Answering constant requests for load updates, manually creating loads, chasing paperwork, or waiting weeks to get paid wastes time, and time is money. That's why Basis built its cutting-edge TMS. Designed by truckers who know the grind, Basis is a powerful cloud-based logistics software that reduces errors, speeds up invoicing, and simplifies workflows. Less wasted time means more growth and more money to the bottom line. Basis isn't a theory. It's built from experience. Check them out today at basis.io.
Welcome to Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. I'm Kevin Parkerson.
And I'm Kevin Higgins. Together we bring you over 60 years in combined experience in global logistics.
In each episode, we'll dive into the latest industry trends, share practical tips, celebrate wins, and share stories from the logistics front lines, all while helping businesses optimize their logistics operations.
Hey, KP, what's going on?
Hey, welcome back to another great edition of Kev Talks podcast. What's going on in your world, man? We're in Northwest Arkansas. It's still 80 freaking degrees in October.
I know, man. Well, it was nice and cool this morning. I'm enjoying my coffee and being able to sit outside and enjoy that. I saw the leaves starting to fall, and I was shocked. Like, it was like, here we are, warm. And then all of a sudden I'm standing out in the front yard and I see leaves blowing out of the trees. And I'm like, wait, they haven't even changed colors yet. It's too soon.
Well, it's, I don't know how to segue into this, but, this is bike to work week. Did you bike to work? Yeah, I just thought that was funny that we both work from home and it's
bike I rode my unicycle.
Week, right? But yeah. I would not want to be, although I guess the mornings have been pretty cool. So it probably wouldn't be a too bad of a trip if you had to bike to work. But in this traffic in Northwest Arkansas, can you imagine? I don't think they do that anymore. Years ago you'd see a group biking to work. But I guess I'm not out in traffic early in the morning, so I don't know if they're doing it or not.
Yeah, I don't know if they are or not. And my problem is I live on the west side, and I got to ride down. There's thousands of cars going down the road. I'm not going to ride down the road. There's no, Razorback Greenway going east and west for me. So it's, I just get on my tricycle and ride from the bedroom to here.
Well, biking to work made me think about, we survived another Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue that was over last weekend. From what I understand, it was very, very successful. I did not attend. I tried to stay away from that area for a variety of reasons, but I'm glad that they had a really successful year.
Yeah, I'm stoked for them. They do a lot of good, man. They raise a ton of money for charities. Unfortunately, you see a lot of accidents during that period of time, and but I didn't hear about anything major. But there were, a handful of accidents, but that does that charity, Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue, they do so much for charity. It's not just a biker event. It is, they're actually raising money.
Yeah, it was a great event. It's a pillar event in Northwest Arkansas. Yeah. Another one is the Northwest Arkansas Tech Summit. We don't have a lot of details, but that has been officially postponed. It would have occurred in the last week of October, I believe, postponed for sometime in 2026. When we get more details, we'll share that. But that's a great event. I think they're just pushing it into 2026 to make it as successful and as big as possible. And hopefully Kev Talks will be attending that in 2026, along with a lot of other special events in 2026.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. I was looking forward to this year. Last year was a great event. So I'm sure they've got some spectacular stuff on the horizon for us. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. And speaking of more events, I have to plug this one. I talked about it a long time ago and we haven't resurrected it. The Mule Jump in Pea Ridge is this coming weekend, this Saturday. It's a legit, people, listen to me. This is a legit event. If you have not attended, you might want to consider it. I asked my wife this week, hey, are we going? And she said, Kevin, that's a one and done. We've done it. We're not going back. Great event, but it's a one and done type event for her. So unfortunately, I won't be attending. Kev Talks will not be there, but it is a great event. Should be great weather in Pea Ridge. If you think I'm making this up, just Google it.
Just look it up. I mean, if you've never seen a mule jump 6 feet high over a bar, you got to go.
We're from Arkansas, dude. These people are listening to this going like, what are these guys talking about?
No, I think it should be a national event. It's a pole vaulting and mule jumping. It's awesome. So you got to get out there. But yeah, I'm going to miss that one too. I'm going down with some friends to the wine trail of Arkansas this weekend.
Oh, wonderful. That's good. That'll be fun. Great weather as well.
It should be fun. But what else is going on in your world, man?
Dude, I'm this weekend, instead of the mule jump, I'm taking family pictures. So nice. I'm real excited about that one. But that's all that's on that. And, football, Arkansas was, had an open date last weekend. So we're back in to that, playing Tennessee. So Mr. Newsom, if you're listening, go Hogs.
That's right. We know how it came out last year. We'll see how it comes out this year.
Exactly. We should make a waiver, and maybe could win.
It's a little bit of stuff, but I think, KP, you had something that you wanted to bring up and talk about a little bit.
Yeah. Kind of in all seriousness, today we're reflecting on something deeply personal and profoundly important. This month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. In Arkansas, breast cancer is the most common cancer among women. Over 2,600 new cases are expected this year alone. Tragically, over 400 women in our state will lose their lives to this disease. It's the second leading cause of cancer deaths among women in both Arkansas and the United States. But there is a silver lining. Early detection saves lives. Mm-hmm. And when called early, the 5-year survival rate for breast cancer is an impressive 99%. That's why it's ultra important for routine mammograms, self-exams, and clinical screenings are so critical. So if you're listening today and you're a survivor, a supporter, or someone currently battling this disease, know that you are seen, you are loved, and you are not alone. Let's keep the conversation going. Share your story, support local initiatives, and encourage the women in your life to get screened.
Absolutely, man. Well, thanks for that. I'm going to bring something up. We decided we're going to do one more week on our little Tumbler giveaway. So this is episode 51. So we're going to take it into episode 51, and then we're doing the drawing next week, and you're going to find out who wins this fantabulous tumbler.
Yeah. How are we going to do the drawing? Are we going to do the drawing are we going to record that, or are we just going to draw it and then announce the winners?
I think that's a great idea. I think we should do it. We should do it on the intro, on the monologue for next week's episode.
So the winner will find out next Friday.
Yeah, So it's no gimmick. We're not picking. We're not just making up a name.
October
but you got
17th is the drawing.
You got to follow us. You got to comment on one of the platforms, whether it's social or whether it's one of the podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, or on YouTube. You got to comment in there to get your name in the drawing. And if you tag somebody who would benefit from our podcast, then you'll get entered another time. So it gets you an extra drawing. So get it done. And we're going to draw next week.
We've got some super fans out there that rival all Swifties, that are really aggressive out there on social media. Yeah. So if you want this limited edition, one of a kind, non-Yeti tumbler, then I would highly recommend to get busy on social media, because those super fans are very aggressive.
That's absolutely
Miss Kathy.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Mom, come on now. So we covered that. What are you seeing in the industry? Let's talk a little bit about the industry, because we're talking about AI and stuff like that, and I I had ChatGPT pull a bunch of stuff together and give me some updates and set a schedule to give me updates once a week. So what are you seeing? Let's see how it compares.
Well, there's a lot of things, but really the fact that there's no peak, the fact that the volume is it's not that it's dried up, it just was front loaded. And here we are in October, and typically, the days when I was operating peak season, the month of October and leading up to Halloween were the busiest. I was working 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, so really the fact that that isn't occurring, that has obviously had some pretty negative impacts on rate levels that are really not sustainable. So I'm sure there are a lot of other operational, all the trade compliance, tariff issues that are going on. We are also upcoming is, believe it or not, and it's coupled with what I was just mentioning about the rate levels, contract renewal season is upcoming.
It's coming up.
The planning stages should be occurring. And, from an advisory consulting side of my business, that is starting to heat up, or at least starting to have conversations with clients and past clients that you need to be ready for that cycle. It'll be interesting times. And then, conference season, conferences are upcoming, for next year, and a lot of planning for that. What did ChatGPT tell you?
Yeah, basically, as far as the market on the containerized stuff, it said that according to Reuters, container imports in September were down 8.4% year over year.
Yep.
A drop of 22.9% in goods from China. So that's pretty significant. And so, there's still they said it's still robust, 2.31 million TEUs. But that's been a drop over last year. And they're speculating that we will drop below 2 million TEUs a month coming up here pretty shortly. But, something that we don't talk about a lot, but I did get a real quick news article that Crowley is continuing to expand in the Jones Act. That's encouraging. They just christened a new vessel down in San Juan. So, that's some pretty exciting news. We don't talk a lot about the Jones Act, but we should.
Yeah. Well, we'll have some guests in 2026 that will help highlight some of the past and the future of what's going on in the Jones Act trade near and dear to my heart. As you know, that's really where I started my maritime career. I started my career at J.B. Hunt, but my maritime career was at Walmart and the Jones Act. So we'll definitely highlight that trade in 2026.
Yep, we need to spend more time on that. But there's a lot of stuff going on. You got CSX and BNSF and Norfolk Southern and the UP, and that is still the Surface Transportation Board still reviewing the Norfolk Southern UP deal. So a lot of stuff going on, and I'm excited. We got to get through this uncertainty. We got to get these tariffs, no new trade deals have been announced as far as I know. We got to get all of this done, so people can plan and know what they need to do with their business. So, but nothing major jumped out this past week as far as being newsworthy. Still uncertainty and containerized volumes down a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little quiet, which is uncommon. Like I said, really it's typical peak season. So it's a little quiet, and then it definitely will be through the holidays, which are really, really near, believe it or not. We got Halloween in just in a couple of weeks. And from there, it really starts to quiet down in regards to some of the volume in some of the topics through the holiday season. It's really just kind of buckling down and pushing the cargo through to the final mile to the end customer, and most everything has arrived. So now it's just getting it into the right DC and the right store and to the right customer's hands.
100%.
Well, we've got a great guest I just mentioned I started my career in the Jones Act, and this guest was at a Jones Act provider, and that's how I met him. This was, almost 30 years ago. A little under 25, I think, when I first met Duncan Wright.
Yeah, KP, I'm excited to have Duncan on today. He's the current president of UWL and the co-CEO of the World Group. Duncan's got nearly 30 years, probably more than 30 years in the industry. He's shaped logistics on 3 continents, leading organizations that connect the Americas, Asia, and Europe. His career began with Sealand, like a lot of other folks that we know, and has since included leadership roles at Horizon Lines, Top Ocean, and the DeWell Group.
At UWL, he spent the last decade driving growth, launching new trade lanes, and guiding global teams. Duncan is known not only for building businesses, but also for building strong relationships across the industry. Hear, hear. We're excited to hear his story, his insights on today's supply chains, and his vision for what's ahead in global logistics. All right. Welcome, everybody, back to Kev Talks. We have a special guest, Mr. Duncan Wright. Duncan, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Duncan, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Duncan, we've already done your intro, so which took us quite a while because you've done so much, but you've worked in nearly every corner of the logistics world: Sealand, Horizon Lines, I think Top Ocean, DeWell, now UWL World Group. What role shaped your leadership style the most?
Well, I think it's a hard one to answer because, every single one of those experiences kind of has led me to where I am now at World Shipping. And I would say probably the one I lean back on the most is going to be Sealand. And I say that
Can imagine.
not just because of what the company was and the history and legacy of the company, but I think that's when I was at my rawest and I would say handful, to put it mildly. Came out of the gates, young Scott, ready to change the world. And I learned a lot personally, but also I fell in love with America at that time and decided I wanted to have my career here and just the go-get-it attitude, the entrepreneurialism of America versus what I saw more in the freight side in Europe at the time. Mm-hmm. I just fell in love with it, and there was no boundaries. Everyone was transparent and conversations would bounce between executives and customer service reps like you wouldn't believe, and everything just felt healthy and open. And I really feel that carved kind of who I am today. And their training, and the training they did for us at the time. I mean, 2 years pure training was incredible. You don't see that these days.
Yeah, you don't.
So I think I learned a lot about myself the hard way. I learned my strengths and weaknesses, and really it was the first time when I bridged. Obviously, Horizon Lines was just really, to me, an extension of Sealand. I stayed with the same group, and it was really one company for 18, 19 years. And those folks, they really taught me to look at myself and recognize my weaknesses, and that's something that really helped me moving forward. When I started saying what I was bad at, I started to get promoted. So there's a tip for youngsters coming out of the gate. But yeah, I would say Sealand. And I think the others, the Top Oceans and DeWells, I mean, technically just so amazingly strong in their, in their ability to manage freight efficiently and the focus they have on the carrier partners and DeWell being, largest Chinese global MVO, and Top Ocean being one of the legends of the early MVOs, the Robert Wang and Vic, over at Apex, just really great learning platforms, So for me, you've got the technical experience, but for me, the real emotional experience and my personal learning the most was Sealand for sure.
Well, I think, Duncan, that period of time, like I usually talk about sometimes talk about, my experience at Walmart back in, the mid 90s up through the early 2000s and how that really shaped me as a leader, and going back before that with DSL and Phil Clark Sr. and Cobb Grantham. And, the time that you were at Sealand and Horizon Lines, and then even after that with Top Ocean and DeWell, I mean, just think about the legends of our industry that we had the opportunity to work with, and the legends that I got to work with at Sealand when I was at Walmart. I mean, it's just absolutely phenomenal. And what I took away from a lot of those, and maybe you can comment here, is their willingness to let us learn by failing and to take those risks to see if it was right or wrong, and then helping us learn from all of those to become a better leader.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's still a very young industry, isn't it, really, if you look at it compared to many other industries, and the entrepreneurialism of the early Sealanders, and most of them, I mean, even today, we've got folks I know from the old IT world of Sealand when they had the shipment management project. They're all CIOs of companies. It's incredible the depth of, I think, leadership we all learned and picked up from that, ability to take risks, but trust each other, let you fail, let you rebuild. Couldn't make too many mistakes, but it wasn't a place for the faint-hearted, and you got found out pretty quick if you weren't delivering. But I agree completely, and I have so much, I would say, just love and passion for the early legends of container shipping, because we're still trying to forge new boundaries even today. I mean, the world is constantly evolving, and that type of DNA in your blood, I think, is what makes this business work. And those leaders really carved it out for all of us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So, Duncan, I think you and I crossed paths when you were at Horizon Lines, the Phil Wars, CJ Hennessy days at Horizon Lines. But did I miss this? Higgins, did you meet Duncan? Did y'all cross paths during the Sealand days, or what? When did y'all meet?
Yeah, so I think, excuse me, it was probably during the Sealand days, but really kind of came back around in kind of a reintroduction. I had been at DeWell for a period of time, and then Duncan was at DeWell, and then Top Ocean, and then Duncan hired a young guy who I had hired out of college at Transplace, and so Cameron Brown worked with Duncan for a period of time, and then Cameron has gone on to just do incredible things in the industry as well. So yeah, we knew each other's names. I don't think we worked real close together, but kind of came back around later into my career.
So I have to ask you, Duncan, this is mid-August. I'd love to get your perspective on what the biggest real challenges that global shippers, from your perspective, what they're facing today, and what that pulse, what that vibe is today in mid-August.
Well, pulse on the market is interesting. So I think if you look at our shipper community today, they obviously have had a really rough ride. Like it's usually been, I've always felt kind of woe is us on the carrier side, right? We're always the ones kind of beaten browed, and the shippers kind of have had, I think, pretty good general service over the years, and have created good models. I think this year and really since COVID, things have changed, and the shippers now have faced, not just turmoil on the tariffs and the compliance and the geopolitical stuff, but also on the actual global logistics side as well. And I think this leads into, a conversation around, I think, what is the future of these shipper supply chains as you head into the year? I mean, I think for them, I don't have as much insight into their world. I do try and stay close to the pulse of our customers, but I think what I've noticed mostly over the years is the shippers who have moved to more of a partnership model, which I think Walmart, you two, I know, both historically really leaned into that. Walmart was certainly a company that needed the capacity and needed the service. I mean, it wasn't just rate all the time. It was both, right? You needed to move the freight, but you needed to have good margins that allowed you to reflect your business model. And I think you see this divergence right now of shippers, and some are definitely leaning into more of a trusted partner model, building more flexibility in their supply chains. Mm-hmm. And then you see the old style where they're just focused purely on what is the cheapest way I can move a box. And I think that divergence has never been more obvious than I see today, where they're looking for, I think we say it a lot, right? It's kind of a buzzword, looking for solutions, but I think looking for partnerships is something that's never been more important for these shippers. And then that leads into obviously their own flexibility in their own supply chains. My advice as well as they look into the rest of the year is don't tie everything into individual gateways. Look at multiple gateway options. You just don't know where the next thing's going to hit. And I think creating flexibility in your supply chains and building partnerships, is the future. And, as I said, to you guys in the past, I mean, it's a human business. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
There's no AI coming in to replace what we do. I don't see it. I really don't. And there's not a lot of industries can say that with such resolution, but our business is so complex. It can change so rapidly, and people need to make the phone calls. People need to prioritize the customers to make sure they're number one in line. And those are decisions that are made, as you guys both know, every day by providers like us, is who gets priority, who's, and that's based on relationships and partnerships.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to unpack there. And, KP, people will probably think that we plant that with a lot of people, because if you go back and listen to a lot of the episodes, it is relationships and partnerships matter, right? Yeah. And that's what helps you get things done, and they matter for a long time. And so, Duncan, I really appreciate, what you're saying there, because there may be this myth that service providers don't care about the customer's business, but there is so untrue. My experience is that as a service provider, and having been on the other side as a customer, you just care, and you want them to succeed, and you're rooting for them, and you really want them to win. So I appreciate that comment.
Yeah. And really, through my career, I learned from some of the best. One of them is on this podcast. And I learned that the partnership approach can and does work. I use that today in my consulting advisory business, working with small and medium-sized businesses to do exactly that. And it is a struggle. It's a way of working. But I've seen the results of it. And that's what I share. Or approaches that I've seen work. It's not just anecdotal. I'm not just talking about it. But I love, the way that you said it, Duncan, and the way that you shared it. And I hope that this industry can embrace that, even more, especially in times like we're seeing today in 2025.
Yeah, I would say definitely seeing more and more of that. And the smart ones are not forgetting what happened during COVID and even during the Suez crisis and these surges and these changes and tariffs and all these elements. So I think there is definitely some muscle being trained around that, because quite often it boomerangs back, right? You get the phone call like it's your best friend out of the blue, and it's like, oh, hello. Yeah, because you desperately need help. Yeah. It shouldn't be like that. It should be, natural engagement built around that trust and partnership. So I think I'm seeing a genuine shift in the community, which is great.
That's good. That's a good sign. So you mentioned tariffs a little bit. I'd love to kind of get your take. Are you seeing a shift toward nearshoring at all because of the current tariff trade compliance environment?
No, really not. Pretty close to this. We cover a broad range of small, mid-sized to large, some of the largest importers. I would say there's a continued investment that I'm sure you guys cover that you're seeing from the Chinese factory owners into Mexico. So I think you'll continue to see some growth there, but that obviously there's some other challenges there that people are running into. But no, I mean, most small to mid-size, definitely, I'm not seeing much nearshoring. I think maybe you're hearing in the news some things about microchips and Apple and some of the high value goods. I think those things naturally will make some sense. But in general, I don't see it. I really don't. I was actually surprised at how little movement there was even away from China during the 2016 bump, right? Some shippers really just didn't really seem to engage on that. And now we're seeing obviously a much more direct impact with the uncertainty. But I think most businesses are riding it out. They're seeing what the political situation will look like. But no, it's a great question. I thought I'd see a lot more of it, but it just isn't happening.
Yeah. I haven't either. That's why I would love to get, more perspectives on that. That's the reason why I asked you, but I haven't seen it as of yet. Maybe that's coming. Maybe that's after, we get through 2025, and maybe it's further into this administration that maybe we'll start seeing a little bit more. But I'm with you. I haven't seen it. But
as we wake up this morning, you've got India, I think, is the highest tariff rate than China. I mean,
today, right?
How the customers
at the time of recording this, whenever we air it, it may not be, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a political guy around this stuff, but I don't think history will treat this economic strategy well. I don't think it's good for our shippers. I don't think it's good for the business overall. Certainly, it's tough for supply chains, and particularly those folks who are in the supply chain business. Can't imagine how many spreadsheets are created every day as they look at new models, and even just transparency from the government of when these changes are going in and what they specifically are. So, it's not so much the political side. I mean, it's just the disruption. We just need some stableness in our industry, and it's just not there.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, I was talking to somebody yesterday. I mean, back in the day, I mean, probably even 2 years ago, say back in the day, I mean, you used to make your buy trips and you'd be planning a year out. You knew what things were going to look like. And now we're planning by the day. We get 90-day reprieve on China, and we get another 90-day, time frame yesterday. And so basically I can plan for 90 days and then that's subject to change tomorrow. So it's incredibly difficult. And like you said, we just need some stability.
Yeah, and it's hard on all of us, right? I mean, we have customers who 1 week, they're just surging as much freight as they can, and it's jamming up our warehousing. It's jamming up. We're seeing like the big chassis issue we've got right now in Seattle, which is, you could say it's a good problem because there's a lot of volume coming in. But a lot of it is customers have brought in, volume early, and they're sitting on the chassis because they haven't sold the freight. They brought it all in early. So,
shocker. Yeah.
These are all problems
done this. Yeah, in the last couple of decades. It shouldn't be a surprise to many people, and should have been, proper chassis planning, because that's exactly what businesses have to do. And you knew that they would do that. So, yeah. Well, listen, you mentioned spreadsheets a few minutes ago. Let's talk a little bit about technology. What kind of tech investments are you hearing or have moved the needle the most in your tenure?
Well, going back to my very, very earliest days, I was lucky enough that I was sitting in a project seat where we were the first ones to utilize the internet. Back in 1995, 96, at Sealand, we created a little system called Fast Track, and I remember going to a industry convention, I for Transport, with 4,000 people attending, and we actually stood on the stage with a great customer, Beth White from AJC, one of the largest reefer importers, and showed them live with a dial-up, live on this giant screen, And I look at the tools that we use today, and they haven't really evolved that much from there. And I mean that in just a real honest way. I mean, we have invested a lot into our WorldScope platform, which is really very much a standard. Really, it's a barrier of entry if you don't have it these days, right? Like, you have to be able to, at your fingertips, particularly for the small to mid-size who don't have big EDI integrations into their own TMSs and order management systems. Mm-hmm. So those guys expect to be able to get, data at their fingertips. So I think the data is the access to the data for most mid-sized to large forwarders, trucking companies. It's all pretty much the same. We're seeing a lot more investment in putting on my co-CEO hat. We also own a trucking company, CPG. They are a huge investor in their tools and visibility for their drivers. So they have a tool called DrayPal that they've invested a lot of money into. So I think the trucking industry is definitely catching up now, the drayage industry side of it, to really focus more on companies being able to be a national platform versus, it's a very fragmented business, as you know, with the IC model and the way it's structured today. So I think we're seeing a lot more investment on the trucking side. I mean, we use a system called CargoWise that's used by, I think, 24 of the top 25 forwarders.
Yep.
WiseTech's buying everyone. It's a decent system, right? It's a decent platform, but most of the tech investment we do is building our own tools over the top of it. So WorldScope's it's a CargoWise base, but it's our own tools and system tracking the vessels. We've integrated more recently with all customs, so all the customs data and access is there, all document access. But as I look ahead, I think obviously we're starting to look at automation around AI. Who isn't? I've yet to see a user case. That's in our business where it really has stripped away manual activity that is done.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm just either not close enough to the pulse, and I'm going to get 100 calls from IT folks saying we can do it today. But I go back to one of my niggles from these conferences is you go to these things and there's just no user cases. There's no one standing up there saying, we did this and it eliminated all of our rail tracking or eliminated all of this. And it's just today, we're still, you look at your business model, and I think I'm not speaking out of turn here. I think it's the case for pretty much every global forwarder is you still have a manual process with individuals is the way that they're handling it. Whether that's offshored to save cost is probably the model most have, including us. So I don't know what new tech is out there in the ocean side and the freight forwarding side, outside of just automating the ability to be proactive on data. You keep hearing about these great models of, was it predictive analytics is probably what you'll hear from tech people.
Yep.
I've got some shippers, some very high value shippers who have implemented some systems, and I love chatting to them about it. They've got AI and predictive analytics. And just as recently as last month, we had a group of them up here. I won't name the company, but high value apparel. And they said that it's really not done much of a difference for them yet. So I don't know if it's because these systems, I'm not tech savvy enough to know, but do they have to learn? And as they learn, they get better? I don't know. But until I hear someone that I trust really shout from the rooftops that this thing's game changing, we've got to be cautious here and not think that AI is going to fix a lot of this stuff.
Okay, we're going to have you back when you do see that and find that. We're definitely going to have you back because it's probably coming. I'm with you, but we're going to definitely have you back and talk about that when you see that.
Yeah.
Higgins, I know you have 10,000 questions.
Oh, I have so much to say, but
I know you do.
It's just, I was going to ask you, and you answered my question for me. Is like, you're looking at AI, but what are you looking at AI for? What value are you guys as an organization looking at that can actually bring to you, whether it's, turnaround rate quotes or, things of that nature? Because I think we've seen, at least from my perspective, we've seen AI for the sake of AI, and whether it's predictive ETAs or anything else like that. But what value, what problem is it solving, and what value is it actually bringing to the organizations? And that's really what I would be interested in. So what practical application are you using it for that's actually solved a problem inside of your organization or in one of your customers' organizations? And I think you answered that just a little bit ago.
Yeah, it probably wasn't the right political answer in terms of promoting, our investments.
That's why we had you on, Duncan.
Yeah.
I told you we wanted your unfiltered Duncanness.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. It's honest, right? So if there's no application inside of your organization and no problems being solved by doing that, then I mean, we got to say that. Otherwise, it's just a buzzword. It's a fancy buzzword that we got to throw out there. And I think there's a lot of problems that can be solved. We just got to get to those problems, and we got to find the right application to do that. And instead of just, like blowing smoke up of people's skirts or something.
Yeah.
Up the kilts.
So Duncan, under the umbrella of technology, if you had to design a resilient supply chain playbook, and I love the playbook, I've used those so many times in my career. Higgins, you probably started that. But for the next decade, what would be the top 3 rules in your playbook?
Okay, so I think I'm going to stick with AI for a moment because it's actually quite a current one in my organization. Is starting to see more and more people bleed it into their own critical thinking. So, and what I mean by that is I'm seeing more and more people when I ask them I'd like something prepared for this, meeting, or they reply to an email. I'm beginning to feel this vanilla touch of AI on some of these messages.
Yeah.
So if you look at the playbook for 10 years, and I'm going to come across as almost this anti-tech guy, which is crazy because I was really the first company ever to implement global tracking, online. But it's not really anti-tech. It's don't let technology drain the critical thinking of your organization and the personal connections you have with your customer engagement.
Great point, Duncan. Great point.
This industry has a huge human element, and the root of these supply chain issues are always going to need people and good relationships. So I kind of touched on that earlier as well, but tech won't fix this. It won't ever fix this. So don't let people use AI. We actually me and my co-partner had an email we sent out to our leadership team saying, no longer allowed to use AI in responses to emails. Use your own words. We don't want this to become a computer generated driven idea think tank. The AI isn't going to come up with the solutions. They're up here in our heads because you learn from all these experiences, and maybe long term it can replace some of that stuff. But there's so much knowledge in our scar tissue and our failures and where we know industry breakpoints are. There's so much of that embedded in all of our DNA and our history and our family history and shipping, which I'm from an old shipping family of where, things have gone wrong in the past, and you learn from all this stuff, and you're not going to do that with systems, right? So for 10 years, I don't think AI is going to fix the critical thinking and the human element, and you've got to stay connected to the customers. And that's a human piece, right? So there's my number one I would give you. I think the second one I think I touched on before, but don't underestimate the world's ability to dynamically screw up your supply chains right now.
Yeah.
We continue to see container growth, and it's not going to change. I don't care about nearshoring. It's not going to dent the global growth of container volume. I think if you look at the average over the last probably 30 years, it's anywhere, other than a couple of recessionary years, we're looking at 3 to 6% a year of growth. And the carriers are getting bigger and bigger, and there's less of them. So don't underestimate the scale that this is going to continue to bring and the pressure it's going to bring. Because I've spent my entire career basically in the US, mainly on the TP eastbound. And, the infrastructure is not improving. So number 2 in the playbook, I would say, is create flexible supply chains. And then the third one would be on the manufacturing side. I think when I say flexible supply chains, it's also making sure you're not putting everything in through LA or everything in through Charleston or Savannah. I mean, it's like, look at the 4-corner model, even if you're small. And the final piece of that is in the next 10 years, don't create contingency planning would be, again, might be a little contentious, but don't make it contingency planning, do it, right? And what I mean by that is don't wait for the problems to happen, because the 4 of us know very well that the second the problem hits, every other shipper who's got it as a contingency plan is then going to execute that contingency plan.
Yeah.
Where you want to be from your supply chain is on a load balance basis. So what I mean by that is the customers don't suddenly say, okay, I want to have a Gulf valve to get access into the Southwest, but right now I'm going to continue to use Savannah, but if there's a problem, I've got this set up and I've got a partner that's already set up on EDI. Use these systems now so you're working on a load balance basis rather than trying to adjust, because then it's just you're along with every other person on the highway of hell trying to get your freight into your network. So those would be my 3 things that I've picked up on, is create and implement models. And I say the same on the shipper from manufacturing. We've seen when the China tariffs hit, particularly on the MBOCC side with our small to mid-sized shippers, we saw a lot of them suddenly pivot and say, even coming to us at times saying, do you know anyone who makes lighting fixtures in Vietnam? Because their China network was 100% their freight.
Yep.
This is the 10-year windows you need to look at. You need to look at your leadership team, make sure they're connected and they're critical thinking. Technology won't solve that. You need to look at your supply chain, your origin, destination, and then you need to start using it. Those are the things that I would be looking at, what I've seen. I mean, I think, again, we've not seen it like this, right? I mean, I go back in my past life and the early days of container shipping, it's never been this crazy, right? No. I mean, I'm not making that up. I mean, it's
legit.
We used to have, I used to say we'd have some kind of event, once every 3 years or something like that. And get a little bit more frequent, and
it's every 3
once
weeks
every 2
now.
years. And I mean, we may have 5 events today, it's just all the time. But I love that analogy of, the contingency planning, right? And what just struck me is like, if you wait to wire a bedroom with lighting fixtures until you actually need it, then you're behind the curve, when you could just pre-wire it and turn the switch on. So looking at your supply chain that way, if I understand you correctly, Duncan, is like implement it. And then when it happens, you go. You don't have to say, okay, now I've got to do this. I got to run this wire. I got to do that. Then I got to turn it on. The people that are going to win are the ones who've got it done and can just turn that light switch on.
Guys, I'm going to print that playbook up and sell it on the website for
Yeah.
$19.95.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's not just implement it; it's use it, right?
It's use it. Yeah.
That's where you'll also run into those
It's
issues.
that simple. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
That's
and then one of the things that you said, you talk about the human touch and the human tasks, and just kind of reminded me of not relying so much on the AI. And it's back to, what are you trying to do with it? Why are you trying to use it? Is I remember very specifically a very senior leader asking my boss a question. It's like, what are your numbers going to be this month? And my boss went to reach for his book, which had his numbers in it. And this person said, I didn't ask you to look in your book. I asked you to tell me what your numbers were going to be. Right. And I think so much we depend on, we lose this and we depend on other things. And so we don't really know what those numbers are. And I think his point was, you need to know it so well. Don't depend on just having it on a piece of paper, because if you know your numbers, you'll know your business. And so I love that. Don't use AI to write your emails. You can have it kind of check your spelling or something, but use your critical thinking.
Let me get to the next item I really want to get Duncan's take on. So, do you have any mentors that you want to give a shout out to, or more importantly, how do you mentor the next generation of logistics leaders?
Great question.
Yeah, I mean, there's been many mentors in my life. Some of them were very tough on me, and that was important at that stage in my life. And I still need that. Every now and then I need to be pulled in a little bit or back off a little bit. I think for me as well, the thing that I love and it really is interesting that we opened with this. I think one of you talked about this, was if you look at the legends of this business, and I'm not just talking ocean, I'm talking across this industry. Mm-hmm. I was lucky enough to do the Denver Intermodal Masters program, and I remember a guy who was teaching one of our classes from JB Hunt Marketing called Paul Bergant, a guy that just jumps off the page for me, because and to this day, I still lean on his learnings. I still have his presentation, and it's like, as I look at Hadaway Enterprise World Group across our trucking, our ocean, our warehousing, these types of guys, people that I've always known for a long time. One of my first bosses, I remember being in Bill Rooney's office the day he left Sealand, and then he went off to a company called Tradiant, and I was going to follow him there, but I didn't have a green card at the time, so I was a little restricted in where I could work. But people like that stay in touch and you learn from, and you always seek their advice when you see them. Brian Taylor was a fantastic mentor for me. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. Never got a chance to tell him how much I appreciated him. That was kind of part of my.
He's one of the good guys. He definitely was one of the good guys.
Yeah, he was a great guy.
And so the lessons you learn from these people, you pass on. Like one of the biggest ones he told me when I was getting all flustered about our lack of BCO lift versus NVO, and he trained me very early on never break relationships in this business, and that's something I really push on to my people. You never want to break a relationship. It doesn't matter how angry you are. You don't go the legal route. You face it head on. You adjust, unless they've done something really crooked or really, ethically off kilter. You just want to stay friends with people, and we celebrate people here when they leave. It's great, and we had one just left maybe a year ago and is already chomping at the bit to come back. And I think it's how you build those rapports with your people when they come and go. We're all in it together. That's the community side of the partnership that I want to continue to forge. Is we need each other. We need your business to keep our business afloat, and we will support and serve you. And you need us to help your supply chain and feed your retail demand. So I feel like these are some of the things that you learn from various people. But just 2 weeks ago, I was sitting with Joachim Dohler, one of the largest ship owners in the world, in Hamburg, in a restaurant, eating some local kipper that he recommended. And guy's got about 200 ships, and the legacy of these people. I mean, he was there at the earliest days, chartering ships to the Sealand and the Moller line, it was called in the early days in the States.
Yeah.
And this guy was even involved in trying to rescue the Scottish shipbuilding industry. So these are the lessons you learn, right? Like I think where the the West has lost the shipbuilding, I think it's a real shame. I'm not trying to breach into that, but I think, it's a shame how we lost that, where UK doesn't have any shipbuilding really anymore. And America's got a little bit, but not much. And, there's a lot of lessons to be learned in the history there. And I think to try and bridge that into the future is you've got to tell them that they've got to also continue to have as much, customer facing experiences as possible, because again, it's so easy these days with technology and text and email to not do those meetings and not to get out. And you could be killing it operationally, but until you learn the customer and understand what their pain points are, and I know I'm getting a little repetitive here, you probably need to cut me off here soon, but
No.
I just think that's a very important thing to mentor people with, is to make sure that they learn that piece. And the final little nugget I always intro the youngsters as they come in is, I think this is an amazing career for anyone, logistics. You can't beat it. It's so human focused. It's just one of those industries that just oils the world and makes the world tick, and no one really knows or cares about it. Even when we had the crisis with China tariffs, I was amazed. We were a week away. I know as a fact, we were a week away from 2 or 3 of the largest retailers having empty shelves. And it wasn't even in the news. And yet we're all panicking because our business fell off a cliff, right? As a lot of people did with a lot of Chinese volume. Mm-hmm. So it's like always keep connected to your customers and always stay close to to understanding what's going on in their supply chains. So I think for me, it's making sure, and this is what my mentors have done with me throughout my career, and I've had several, that is making sure that you tie these people to the future and they're connected to the future. And they're connected to that this is a great career. One of the things I say, if you ask people here in world shipping, if you join us straight as a youngster, give me 3 years. Don't quit for 3 years. Give me 3 years, you've got a degree in freight. Then you can take that anywhere. And I think once you've been in it for 3 years, you guys both know, whether you're on the shipper side or the carrier side, and I'm seeing a lot more people move between than they ever used to. Mm-hmm. That I think is fascinating as well. Yep. I think shippers come and joining us, and people I know, I just had a lady, we just went back to the shipper side. So I think that's a very important piece as well, is connecting them to this career and this industry, because it is here for the long term. It ain't changing until the Star Trek device or something comes into play, which I don't know. Maybe that's something that they'll eventually fix, but no, we're in a people-human industry, and that's something that I was taught very early on. Don't burn those bridges.
That was sound advice. That was not a nugget. That was the whole boulder.
I just like to talk. Giving me an hour is probably not gonna cover the questions. Sorry.
No, that's great. Listen, what's a truth about global logistics you wish more people understood?
I would say that we move the world would be a kind of a phrase. That's kind of our mission here in our company, and be proud of that. Right, that's the truth. I mean, I've got a wife who was in ad agency work and was always filming with movie stars and this and that, and the San Antonio Spurs doing commercials. And at dinner parties, people didn't want to hear about, I'd talk about containers, and you could see their eyes glaze over. They want to learn about Eva Longoria and what makeup she had on. And it's not a sexy industry, right? But it's such a wonderful career, and it's such an important role we play, in bridging not just the ability to move cargo, but the cultural investment we all make with our partners and different nationalities and the globe. I mean, the globe, we can, despite the challenges of tariffs and everything else, globalization isn't changing. I was just over in Asia, actually. I was in Singapore for a long time, in Dubai. That's the thing the US has got to be careful of, as you head more down a nationalist route, is the rest of the world moves on. I mean, there's hundreds of other trade lanes. I mean, the robustness of learning about Africa and the China-Africa trade, and Europe, Middle East, and these trade lanes are very, very robust and active. And it's not, the world doesn't all evolve around the US anymore when it comes to container traffic. But I would say, the one truth, the thing that I would really want to reinforce is just how important this industry is, and wear it with a badge of honor and pride, and speak up and talk about it, and to continue to bring, talent into our industry, which is, is going to always be a challenge, I think. I don't know if that answered your question. It was kind of off
you
the
did.
top.
You definitely did. That was
Absolutely.
great, Duncan. Yeah, that was really, really good. Well, listen, we're coming up on the close of our time, which gets me to some randomness questions that always somehow gets back to food. I don't know why, but Higgins, typically, I know you travel quite a bit. You've mentioned it a couple of times. Do you have a go-to travel snack that you always have to pack with you?
No, coffee.
No snacks.
No, I eat enough when I travel to make up. But I always have a coffee, and usually a few too many. Yeah. Sorry, no snack. I think one time I tried to get really into this health kick, and I started bringing little packs of nuts and a banana, but that didn't last very long. So.
Yeah, that wouldn't last very long with me either. But we all usually gather at least once a year out in Long Beach for a TPM. Duncan, what if you're going to go out there and make sure that you eat at one place, where are you going?
It's always a steak of some kind. Just love a nice piece of red meat with a good people, good conversation, and a nice steak.
Yeah.
This year we actually did something very different, very unique, which was filled with all sorts of fun stories, because I often tell the youngsters as well that we're in the story making business as well as the freight moving business. But we actually rented a house last year, and we had the customers come to the house, and we created a huge table, and we had chefs come in. But we had some incidents with the lighting, and then we had a rat. All sorts of extraordinarily ridiculous stories came from that house.
Okay.
It was like we were being pranked every day, but the customers actually, they still talk about that. They don't talk about, going to a big steakhouse.
Yeah, going to 555 or something like that.
But no, I love a piece of red meat, Kevin, with a really nice glass of red and good company.
I expect our invite in our inbox to that session. That sounds awesome. That's a great way to do it. Like I love that. I really do. Higgins, we should do that, right?
Yeah.
You could set up a little podcast and bring people in.
Yes.
Find us a sponsor for that. We'll do it. I'll cook on the grill.
Speaking of conferences, do you have a pet peeve? What's your biggest pet peeve at conferences?
Oh, I think I hit on it already, Kevin, but I hate when you get presentations that are just sales pitches with no user cases.
Yeah.
So I spoke at TPM. I don't know if you saw our presentation. We were talking about our new Sunchief service, which is where we contract the ships out of Vietnam into the US. And we had two of our largest footwear customers on the stage talking about it. We didn't speak. And that's where when I just see people talking about, and it's not just tech, it's other things as well. It's like, put the customers on the stage. They're the ones, it's their event. How do we hear from them instead of just these regurgitated louder. Yeah. So I hate, if you don't have a user case, you're going to struggle to keep my attention. That's something that kind of frustrates me.
That's great feedback. I love that.
Yep. Higgins, I knew you would love that. That's so true. Well, listen, Duncan, this has been great. We probably could go on, but thank you for sharing your experiences and your insights today. For our listeners, especially the small and medium-sized businesses looking to navigate supply chain and complex supply chains, Duncan's perspective underscores a couple of things. A critical point is opportunity is everywhere. Success comes from understanding the systems and building strong relationships and thinking strategically about both technology and partnerships is key. So if you want to connect with Duncan, we'll put all his information in the episode notes. And thanks again so much, Duncan. We'll have to have you back and definitely see you in Long Beach for sure.
Great. Look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
thanks so much, Duncan. Take care.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. If today's discussion inspired you, don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate, and share our podcast.
Remember, every great journey in logistics starts with a single step forward. Let's continue working together to transform the industry.